Well, guys, this is the moment that we've all been waiting for. War has all but been declared by Trump against Iran. Just today, Trump ordered the striking of several Iranian nuclear facilities. The strikes were carried out, thus marking the first bombings by the U.S. and on Iranian soil at the start of what will likely be the war between the U.S. and Israel and Iran. And of course, Iran's allies that it backs across the Middle East and what have you. Hope Patchy's safe. Me too. We do have fans in the community that are Iranian, and we are wishing the best for them. For those that don't know, the majority of Iran's citizens do not support its extremely, for lack of a better term, just fascist government. The people there are not a big fan of it, but Israel and the U.S. are known for leveling large swaths of civilian infrastructure when they deem it necessary. So I'm scared. I'm scared for a lot of people out there that I know are not, dangerous or supporters of the Iranian government that may be victims of this war. It's very scary to me. And now that this war is fully on by the looks of things, it's going to get a lot worse. There's going to be a lot more exponentially rising civilian deaths in the near future. That is something I will guarantee you right now. War is bad, okay? I mean, I don't want to reduce things too much. I mean, I don't necessarily think it's bad for us to take out Iran's nuclear facilities. It's just right now we know a lot of civilians in Iran have already been killed. It's damn. We're only a couple days in. War hasn't even been declared yet. And our side is already racking up civ kills. It's not ideal. It's not ideal, guys. Those are, it's a no bueno, to say the least. Michael Moran, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, Trump's post was absolutely unhinged, seemingly cheering on the bombing of stuff. Yeah, no, Trump is absolutely gleeful to be bombing Iran again. He's done it now every term he's had. He did it last term, he bombed Iran, and this time around, he's also bombing Iran. Last time it didn't lead to war. This time, war seems inevitable. Who knows, though? Maybe we'll get lucky, and things will settle down again. Hard to say. Though things seem like they're going to get way more heated in the near future, which is why our boy Anderson Cooper is going to fill us in.
By President Trump up on the screen. He says in a Truth Social post, we have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordo. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our...
Why does this music sound like some Helldivers shit, bro? What the hell? Let's fucking go, dude. This is what you get when you elect a Republican who promises anything. When a Republican promises something, the truth is they're going to do a lot of the opposite of what they promised. Trump promised no war, and here we are, less than a year. We're barely half a year into his term, and we're going to war. The groceries aren't cheap. The economy is sputtering. The market is shitting itself every other day. This is what you get when you vote for a Republican and believe their promises.
I want to put the statement by President Trump up on the screen. He says in a Truth Social post, we have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordo. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There's not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I'm here with...
We just bombed another country. Now is the time for peace, in all caps. Now is the time for peace, okay? You've been thoroughly bombed, Iran. Now it's time for peace. You're not gonna try and strike Israel back and thus force our hand into further bombings, right? Obviously, that's what's going to happen. In response to this, Iran is going to launch a massive volley at Israel. Some's going to get through. Israelis will die, which will be sad because they'll be civilians for the most part. And then Israel's going to respond, and the U.S. will feel its hand has been forced, or I should say Trump will use this as justification to say his hand has been forced, and war will continue. I think we all know, if Trump is saying now is the time for peace, we all know war is now imminent. War has basically begun.
With CNN's Jeremy Diamond in Tel Aviv. Obviously, Jeremy, this is something that we have been waiting for and watching for. We got the word earlier today that B-2s were in the air. There has been some reporting they're heading toward Guam. We don't know exactly what aircraft were used in this. They said
planes dropping bombs just kind of surprises me that that's how they did it. You know what I mean? I know it's like very advanced bomber planes, but it's like, man, I thought we could just launch something. You know? We have like intercontinental missiles. We don't need to like fly a plane there, do we? Is it cheaper to fly a plane there? It must be. It almost certainly is cheaper to fly a plane and drop a bomb over something, maybe even more accurate and less likely to fail. It just seems like the way the US tends to do things is to try to risk as few actual people as possible in an operation. So it just seems weird to me that like we would fly planes to drop bombs over a hostile country being piloted and manned by presumably US Air Force, like actual people, when we now have such wild drone and ICBM capacity. You know, it doesn't have to be a nuke. It can just be like a missile, right? Huh. It's because drones can be intercepted, but planes are more difficult to hit? I guess so. I mean, that shocked me. That detail in particular just shocked me and stood out to me. And I've just got this, I guess, idea in my mind that we don't really send too many people out there in harm's way if we can help it. And that's why we spend so much money on advancing our war tech, is so less people are put in harm's way. Well, less of our people are put in harm's way when they're conducting an operation, you know? That's why we got, like, bomb disarming robots that are, like, remote controlled and what have you, right?
Full payload of bombs, which there had been a lot of discussion about how many of these bunker buster bombs would be required to really damage Fordo facility. Unclear if just one would be enough. He says bombs. It sounds like there were multiple strikes.
Yeah, and you know, even
there
as
was
he is
3
talking
facilities
about multiple
we now know.
nuclear sites in Iran, the one to key in on is the Fordo facility, because we know that that is the facility that is buried deep beneath a mountain in Iran that would require those B-2 bombers and
we had to drop bunker buster bombs on them. That's why. We watched a segment or a news broadcast bit about this last stream where they talked about the remaining locations Israel wants to take out were all underground, or one of them in particular was like deep underground, and the US is the only one with the buster bunker capabilities to take out that facility. Israel doesn't have bunker buster bombs like what the US has to like penetrate a mountain and take out a bunker. Like under possibly dozens, if not 100 feet of stone. Damn. The U.S. military is scary. It really, really is.
Would require those 30,000 pound bombs to be dropped over that facility. And most experts have estimated that it would take
that's a wide range
bombing
where they
runs
bombed
to actually get to the depth required to destroy that facility in Fordo, and it appears that the United States has now carried out that strike. The question, as you said, how many runs did it take? Were they able to destroy it completely? You know, we don't know that yet. We don't have that battle damage assessment that they need to do.
We should also point out the Natanz facility, according to the IAEA and others, that was damaged by Israeli authorities. That was damaged early on in Israel's actions against Iran. The exact level of damage was not clear.
Isn't the IAEA... Am I mistaken? Is that like a... I swear to God I've heard that acronym before in the world of, like, national foreign policy. Doesn't it have to do with, like... Yeah, it has to do with nuclear proliferation. I knew it. Because the IAEA is an important part of Metal Gear Solid 5's story. Okay. International Atomic Energy Agency. The International Atomic Energy Agency is an intergovernmental organization that seeks to promote the peaceful use of nuclear energy and to inhibit its use for any military purpose, including nuclear weapons. Yeah. So, okay. I thought that was what it was about. Nice. Okay. Just wanted to check. That was a familiar acronym.
Clear, there were some initial reports that perhaps the damage was worse than it actually was. The electrical supply to the centrifuges at the Natanz facility were cut. That electrical supply was cut. I spoke to the head of the IAEA who said he believed that would have caused some of the centrifuges in that Natanz facility to spin out of control and probably go offline and be damaged. But again, it seemed like Fordo had not really been directly hit as far as we know.
That's right. The Israelis had primarily focused their attention on the Natanz facility. We know that they had done extensive damage to the above ground facilities, some damage to the below ground facilities, and then as well some damage to Isfahan as well, although they left a lot of that untouched. Some of that, according to experts who I've spoken to, may stem from the risk of radiation that could stem from, if you hit that facility very hard. The Fordo facility, they didn't seem to really strike.
Dude, what if we, strike one of these nuclear facilities and it sets off some kind of nuclear chain reaction and just pollutes swaths of the planet with radioactive fallout? I find that unlikely, but also, there was a time when people didn't know that you should not open the lid on the Demon Core. And people had to find that one out the hard way. There's a lot of radioactivity-related things that we have to find out the hard way, and I'm worried there might be some more hard lessons we're yet to learn. Assuming it's in the realm of, bombing nuclear facilities. That worries me. Building nuclear facilities doesn't scare me. Bombing them, I need a smart person to explain to me why that's not scary.
Like that, the Israelis themselves, and that reflected the fact that they knew that in order to actually get to that facility, you would need those GBU-57s, which are those enormous 30,000-pound bunker-busting bombs.
Which, by the way, have never actually been used in combat, and certainly not in a situation like this.
That's right. I mean, the United States has used a lesser bomb known as the mother of all bombs, which is in Afghanistan. That bomb is actually not the mother of all bombs if you consider the GBU-57, because it is smaller than this 30,000-pound bunker-busting bomb, which would, every expert has said, would be the bomb that you would use for the Fordo facility. At this stage,
that's the underground
we don't know that
one.
They have actually used.
Hold on, do we have a picture? Because I saw a picture of it recently where you see it the underground. Okay, I don't think they show a picture, so I'll bring it up. Fordo nuclear facility. This is the facility, the underground one, that they planned to bomb. Or that they bombed. That the US had to get involved in the bombing of, because Israel couldn't do it. That's the logic that we hear from Trump. This is the start of the bunker, but it goes underground. And to take this building out, because it goes so deep, they use some kind of piercing. Imagine an armor-piercing bullet, but it's a bomb. That's what they used on this thing. Essentially, just skewering this fortress that extends underground like a cave base in Rust, and blew it up from the bottom up, I suppose. That's what they do. So this is what the U.S. got involved in this conflict for, is to take out that nuclear facility. That was the logic being pushed, at least, as of a couple days ago.
That we don't have confirmation from the military, but presumably that would indeed be the weapon of choice for this facility.
The thing about those bombs is that they can penetrate deep through concrete, deep through fortifications. The question is, would you need to hit with multiple of those?
Oh, we're getting a look right now.
Those bombs in the exact same spot to really.
Damn. God, the fact we can make anything that can just be dropped and then can drill that far, much less it can be a functional bomb that explodes at said depth, is wild. I know it's like a murder machine, a murder construct, more or less, but these bunker buster bombs are a pretty, impressive feat of human engineering, I have to admit. It's 15 tons from miles up. We humans are very scary. Shit,
Get
dude.
to the depths that we're talking about. I mean, there's estimates of how deep the Fordo facility goes, and I've seen a variety of them, but it's extensive. I mean, it is very deep in this mountain.
Without a doubt. And you not only have the mountainous structure, you know, the natural fortification that is provided in this facility, but there's also been some analysis that there is likely some reinforced concrete as well. So you have the mountain itself, but then you may also have reinforced fortifications for this facility itself. And that's why most experts have said it would likely take multiple runs of these GBU 57s, known as these 30,000-pound bunker-busting bombs, to be dropped over this facility. I do think that it is interesting that we are also talking about U.S. strikes, according to the president, on these two other nuclear facilities as well. And that, you know, all the attention has been focused on this Fordo facility, which is where...
How do we know what's under the mountain? Is it like people leaking stuff, or do we have some kind of infrared that can see through rock? And it's like, yep, see that heat under the mountain there? They got centrifuges under that hill. Oh, that's a tunnel entrance down there. You look real close. Seismic waves, I think? Bro, we're in the future, man. Talk about modern warfare.
Where the United States was needed in order to destroy that facility, but the fact that President Trump authorized strikes on these two other nuclear facilities as well indicates that he really wanted to make sure that this job was done. And this is an attempt by the United States, by President Trump, to truly eliminate the entire Iranian nuclear program, and that just cannot be understated.
Particularly the site at Isfahan. My understanding is that there were large reservoirs of nuclear fuel there, and that during the initial attack a week ago, that site had not been struck, and there had been some thought that perhaps that was intentional to kind of give options to the Iranians.
That's right.
Kind of a window. Perhaps that was intentional to...
One of the things that just makes me kind of giggle every time I think about it, this is so barely on topic, but Stan literally just means land. So Afghanistan is just Afghaniland in English. Pakistan would just be Pakaland. I don't know why, but that just, every time I think about that, it makes me happy.
Kind of give options to the Iranians.
Yeah, I guess there's England.
Kind of
that makes sense. Yeah. Dude, country names are so unoriginal. That's some bullshit. We're called America. That's some good shit right there. Even Canada cooked with their name. They got a similar thing going on to us where we just kind of came up with a neat sounding name. Yeah, and Kekistan means Kekaland. Exactly.
Have a diplomatic effort.
I mean, we haven't even talked yet about the enormous head fake here from President Trump. I mean, you know, in just the last few days, President Trump talked about giving the Iranians 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks for diplomacy to run its course.
He always said within 2 weeks. But
within 2 weeks.
The headline was 2 weeks.
But that was the headline, and the impression that he was giving was that there was time. He was giving the impression that there was time.
Yeah, we're named after a guy with a cool name. Was his name Amerigo Vespucci? Is that his name? I like that better.
Time to negotiate a deal with Iran. And now he has decided to take military action. And the question is, when he talked about nearly 2 weeks, was he indeed trying to give the Iranians that impression in order to be able to carry out these strikes without the Iranians knowing that it was coming?
Some of the guests that we have had on over the last several days have raised the possibility that this was kind of a head fake. There was also that diplomatic effort, meeting of foreign ministers in Geneva yesterday. One could make the...
You know what's so wild about modern war? Like this era we're in? We were able to tell this was coming for days and days and days before it happened. The same went for Russia invading Ukraine, Israel going in full-scale war against Hamas. What's wild now is that with the 24-hour news cycle and the internet and this level of like journalistic sort of always being there, always able to broadcast to the world, we all know when war is imminent at this point. Like, we never know for sure it's gonna happen, but when it does, it's always like, yeah, we knew this was coming for days. Like like we watched as the lead up to this happened. We should have known this was how it was gonna go, right? That's such a crazy thing. I feel like you go back to like 50 years ago and wars just started. You know, like many people I feel wouldn't even be up to date on the news that led to a war starting before it started.
The argument, perhaps you wanted to see if anything would actually come out of that. It certainly didn't seem like that ended with any movement toward a sign that Iran was really serious about negotiations. I want to go to CNN's Elena Treen, who joins us now, and also Natasha Bertrand, who's on the phone. Elena, can you just talk about the statement that the president has made? Who have you seen coming in and out of the White House this evening in the last few hours?
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously an incredibly significant move here by the White House, really just saying that they have moved forward in striking these 3 Iranian nuclear facilities, really trying to aid the Israelis in their goal of wiping out Iran's entire nuclear program. Notable as well that he thanked American warriors and said there's not another military in the world that could have done this. Also saying that all planes are now outside of Iranian airspace. Now, to give you some context, the president did land back at the White House. He was at his club in New Jersey about a little bit over around 2 hours ago now.
Trump golfing while the U.S. carries out military orders he's made is crazy. The most Trump thing imaginable. Of course, he was golfing in New Jersey, of all places.
And he went right into the West Wing to meet with his national security team. We spotted some of them coming in, including CIA Director John Ratcliffe, someone who's been very influential, we're told, behind the scenes in briefing the president, but also laying out different options he could take here. We also spotted moments ago Secretary of State Marco Rubio just outside the West Wing on the phone. Look, the president, the Marine, is still out there continuing to huddle with his national security officials as he released this statement. But I think we can understate how big of a move this is, especially as we know that the president, I had been told repeatedly in my conversations this week with White House officials, really struggling with this decision of whether or not to move forward with U.S. strikes or just continue to try and see if there could be some diplomatic solution. Clearly, tonight he has moved forward and showed that he has made his decision, and they have already completed these strikes and gotten out of the Iranian airspace.
It's happening.
Elena Treen
It's
from the White House.
happening,
Thanks
dude.
very much. I want to go to retired general.
Apparently, this is going to be the first war declared on social media. That can't be true. I feel like Putin must have tweeted about the Russian invasion before Trump has tweeted about any wars he's done. I feel like Putin would be the first, right? Or maybe some world leader we don't even know about that just has a Twitter.
Mark Kimmett, who is joining us.
Someone you would
General
never
Kimmett,
think of.
I'm wondering what you make of this announcement by the president and the decision to act now.
Well, I'm fascinated, and candidly, I'm impressed. I never really could understand what the 2-week pause meant or what it was for. What was left to negotiate? What were we going to expect the Iranians to offer? In many ways, it was much like a Trump deal. I mean, he's trying to make a deal to buy an apartment, but all of a sudden the apartment was destroyed. So where's the negotiation?
Dude, there has been so much Trump apologetics across the media lately. Keep in mind, the AP lost their access to the White House. They're kicked out of the White House, the Associated Press is, all because they were too critical of Trump in their questions that they asked. And so now, CNN, MSNBC, all these platforms that Trump still shit talks, mind you, are all using kid gloves with him because they are terrified of getting banned from the White House.
So I think
like
the
AP
use
got
of
banned.
deception and trickery in this case, first of all, was successful, but second of all, saved the potential loss of American lives.
Let me ask you, just in terms of bomb damage assessment, how long will that take? I don't know if that's something the U.S. does, if Israel is doing that, or some combination thereof.
Well, you can anticipate that every intelligence gathering asset that the United States has, from satellite to communications intelligence to human intelligence, is now focused at least on Fordow to make sure that they have an accurate reading of what damage has been done to that site and if there's going to be a need for attack or reattack.
I want to put the statement by.
Man, looks like it's happening, guys. America at war. It's possible. It's very possible that somehow this doesn't end up sort of unraveling into some crazy saga of back and forth bombings between Israel and Iran and the U.S. It's possible things simmer down, like they did after Trump bombed Iran in his first term. Simmer down being a relatively, carrying a lot of weight there, to say the least. But I do think that there's a more likely chance that this is the start of full-on war. The comments are, I'm happy to say, fairly reasonable. It seems like this is one of the few cases where the right and left are going to have a hard time not agreeing that Trump is bad for this one. The top comments are as follows. The self-proclaimed anti-war president. Israel says jump and the USA says how high. Imagine if Japan said we completely obliterated Pearl Harbor. Now is the time for peace. Netanyahu in 2001. America is a thing you can move very easily. That's, I guess, a direct translation, but yeah, I mean, Netanyahu knows how to play America. He knows how to use that puppet. If Trump tells his supporters that cows lay eggs and chickens make milk, they will believe it. How stupid do you have to be to get dragged into a war in support of some war criminals? Is Barron going to enlist? So yeah, the comments are not too kind towards Trump. People are not happy about this one. I'm sure MAGA and the core of MAGA are going to still play defense for him as they always do, but I think a lot of people who genuinely thought Trump was good for the economy and would keep us out of pointless foreign wars are starting to realize he was completely full of shit, and they were idiots for ever having believed him. That's the most important part for me. I really want these people to realize they were idiots for ever having believed Trump. I'm sure they never will, but that is the great realization that will make me feel a cathartic sense of, like, happiness and fulfillment. The chuds seem torn. I know. I've seen a lot of, like, back and forth. Like, Ben Shapiro seems to actually be calling it out, thankfully. Though Ben Shapiro is kind of irrelevant these days based on, like, Brett Cooper leaving the Daily Wire. Regardless, though, if you enjoyed this segment, if you found it entertaining, educational, or enjoyable, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to ring the bell icon as well. Liking and commenting on my videos and streams is the best way to support my channel. It's totally free. It takes half a second and forces YouTube to push my content to new people in the algorithm. Of course, don't forget to follow my social medias linked down below in the description, especially my fan Discord where I host weekly gaming events, call-in streams, watch parties, and movie nights. Unfortunately, we can't do movie night tonight because I do not feel well and will probably not feel any better after stream, to tell you guys the truth. Feeling a little rough. It's getting a little rougher, but I'm thugging it out. Regardless, though, tomorrow, most likely, I will be hosting a watch party there. We'll be watching some Baki while I work out, assuming I don't feel like garbage then. And so I hope you guys are down to join that and be a part of that. It should be quite fun. On top of that, if you guys want to see more from me and support the channel and help me keep the lights on and a roof above my head here at the Xanderhal Studio, then please consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub to someone else on my website, xanderhal.com/live, or support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, StreamElements, Patreon, or buy some custom Xanderhal merch through the Streamlabs link down below. Regardless of how you support me, though, thank you so much for watching, as always, and have a good one.